Good evening. ICAC officers have raided the homes of media tycoon Jimmy Lai, his top aide and veteran lawmaker Lee Cheuk-yan, as part of a probe into multi-million-dollar donations paid to pro-democracy parties and politicians. The pan-Democrats and their supporters are questioning the timing of the raids, just before Beijing is expected to announce a hard line on how much democracy it will allow here. ATV's Winner Wong reports.
There was a media frenzy outside Jimmy Lai's home on Kadoorie Avenue as ICAC officers came knocking at his door just after 7 a.m. They stayed for about 4 hours and left. The tycoon and his lawyer were tight-lipped as they brushed off reporters asking for information.
ICAC was here and they'll all come now, and there's no further comment.
That's all we have to say. Thank you.
Shares in Lai's flagship Next Media company plunged 6% to 92 cents when the news spread, and they were at 95 cents when trading was suspended shortly after 10:30 a.m. Lai, who publishes the popular and openly pro-democracy Apple Daily newspaper, became embroiled in a controversy last month when documents detailing his donations to pan-Democrat politicians, parties, and organizations were leaked to the media. The document suggests he gave them up to $40 million since 2012, including more than $10 million since last year. One of those who received money from him was veteran unionist lawmaker and democracy campaigner Lee Cheuk-yan, whose home was also raided by the ICAC this morning. The Labour Party chairman revealed that graft investigators accompanied him to the bank to retrieve records, which they took away. Citing a copy of the search warrant, Reuters news agency said they were looking into the link between the money Lee received and a speech he made in Lejko back in January. During that discussion on editorial independence, he had raised concerns about banks being pressured to pull advertisements from newspapers critical of Beijing. Lee has confirmed receiving a total of $1.5 million from Lai, a third of which he kept in his personal account for 9 months. He transferred the $500,000 into the Labour Party's account only after the scandal erupted, but denied any wrongdoing. Lee claimed the money was for a food waste recycling scheme, but could not be transferred because of a delay in registering the social enterprise. ICAC investigators also raided Lee's Lejko office and searched the home of Lai's top aide, Mark Simon, whose email was hacked before the donation details were leaked. While political parties and organizations are not required to reveal their funding sources, individual lawmakers have to declare donations, which the pan-Democrats are accused of failing to do. But they're calling it a smear campaign and white terror to suppress their intensifying push for universal suffrage. Many are questioning the timing of the ICAC raids, which come just days before Beijing lays out what's expected to be a highly conservative framework for how much democracy it will allow in Hong Kong. It sets the stage for a backlash led by the Occupy Central movement, which has been heavily funded and mentored by Lai, according to the leaked documents. That link has given ammunition to Beijing loyalists accusing the tycoon and other pro-democracy leaders of working with foreign powers to create chaos in Hong Kong. Winner Wong, ATV News.
A Lejko committee will meet in October to decide whether to launch a formal investigation into the donation scandal. The pan-Democrats are warning of a climate of fear designed to draw attention away from an impending political reform crisis.
Civic Party lawmaker Claudia Mo, who has been attempting to distance herself from the donation controversy, said no ICAC officers have contacted her so far. She raised suspicion about the timing of today's raids, suggesting it was an effort to discredit the pan-democratic camp and draw attention away from Beijing's plans to limit democratic reform here. Beijing officials have unreasonably twisted the concept of accepting political contributions as colluding with foreign forces, Mo said. This is political persecution. Mo herself has repeatedly denied accepting $500,000 from Lai in 2012, although the media tycoon confirmed paying her for electioneering. Mo's explanation is that while her Civic Party may have received money from Lai, she herself has only accepted donations from her husband and party. When asked today whether she was worried about the ICAC investigation, Mo replied, "People who have done no wrong don't need to worry about anything." Civic Party leader Alan Leung was less confident. Technically, I shouldn't be worried since there is no evidence I ever received a cent from Lai, he said. But since the central government is being unreasonable about political reform, it may be afraid of civil disobedience, so it's trying to get rid of everyone involved. Veteran democracy campaigner Martin Lee refused to talk about the ICAC investigation, but he did say it smacks of white terror. The head of LegCo's Committee on Members' Interests, Ip Kwok Him, has pushed back the next meeting of the body from September to 6th of October, since that's the only time members will be in Hong Kong. They will discuss the explanation given by some of the accused pan-democratic lawmakers first, before deciding whether to launch a formal LegCo investigation. LegCo President Tsang Yuk-sing said today that any such probe would be conducted separately from the ICAC investigation. While denying any wrongdoing, the pan-democrats have called for a level playing field and challenged pro-government politicians to reveal their own funding sources if they have nothing to hide. They say that could open up a whole new can of worms on the other side of the fence. Winna Wong, ATV News.
Occupy Central leader Benny Tai has announced plans to shave his head and start his civil disobedience campaign with a mass rally on Sunday. But he promised to halt the movement if any violence breaks out. ATV's Emily Sue reports.
Occupy Central leader Benny Tai took to the airwaves this morning to give an assurance that his civil disobedience campaign for real democracy will be peaceful. The pledge came after Tai and other pan-democrats met last night and decided to stage a rally outside the chief executive's office at Tamar on Sunday. The protest will be held after Beijing lays the framework for Hong Kong's political reform, which they're expecting to be highly conservative and dismissive of their calls for genuine democracy in line with international standards. Tai says the rally will mark the start of a continuous and long-term struggle for real universal suffrage in the 2017 chief executive election. But he vowed to stand in front of the crowd and stop them if violence erupts during the planned blockade of Central. The law professor said he will halt the action if protesters damage public property or resort to violence in other ways, and will resume the sit-in only if Occupy leaders regain control of the situation. Tai, however, did not reveal the actual date of the street seizure or the exact location, saying he does not want to be arrested before arriving at the scene. He added that he's expecting to be charged for the illegal protest and vowed to shave his head in a spirit of sacrifice. Meanwhile, students from at least 11 universities and other tertiary institutions have agreed to start boycotting classes from next month to push for democracy. Federation of Students Secretary General Alex Chow said the strike will kick off with a mass assembly, most probably at Chinese University in Sha Tin. We see no future for Hong Kong, said Chow. We hope to awaken the people to face this problem, because now is a turning point for the city's road towards better democracy. Executive Councillor and pro-establishment lawmaker Starry Lee blamed Tai, Chow and their supporters for pushing Beijing into adopting a tougher than expected stance on the city's reform.
Local delegates to China's parliament say the chance is close to zero that the NPC will make changes to a highly conservative draft resolution on political reform. Protests have already begun as the pan-democratic camp cries foul.
Members of the National People's Congress Standing Committee split up into different groups this morning to discuss the draft resolution on Hong Kong's political reform. Although Hong Kong delegates have remained tight-lipped over the contents of the document, sources have revealed that Beijing has already rejected all the pan-democrats' demands. When the Standing Committee makes its recommendations on Sunday, it's expected to require chief executive hopefuls to secure backing from more than half of the official nominating committee and cap the number of candidates at 2 or 3. NPC delegate and unionist Zhang Yutong said today the chances of the Standing Committee changing the conditions laid out in the draft resolution are close to zero. In Hong Kong, members of lawmaker Gary Fan's New Democrats carried boxes of healthy and rotten oranges to Tamar Park outside government headquarters today to protest against the NPC's impending decision. They warned that with civil nomination being ruled out, ordinary voters will merely be choosing from a basket of rotten fruits when the chief executive election is held in 2017. The group then poured the rotten oranges out of the box and rejected the notion of pocketing any reform package put before them in the hope that more democratic changes can be made to the electoral system later on. Democratic Party founder Martin Lee agreed.
We have been cheated long enough. We have been waiting long enough. Now we are told, well, it's not a perfect system. Why don't you take it first? And then hopefully we perfect the nomination system in future. How do I know that 5 years later they will do that?
Former Finance Minister Anthony Leung hit back at Lee, insisting that having some choice is better than no choice at all. LegCo President Zhang Yuxing also waded into the debate, arguing that the draft is not final and there's still room for negotiation.
This is the reality. It is very difficult to reach a consensus. It is very damaging to Hong Kong if we fail to reach consensus. So I hope that all concerned, all the various parties, will take a very pragmatic, very rational attitude towards the discussion, the debate in the next few months.
Zhang said he hopes the Occupy Central campaign will not discourage further talks between the opposition camp and the central government. Hong Kong's history doesn't just end when Occupy Central happens, said Zhang. There's still a lot of work to do after Occupy is over.
A young man has been jailed for life for killing his father and seriously injuring his mother in a bloody knife attack while they slept. The High Court also sentenced 20-year-old Ian Fox's schoolmate to life in prison for helping him with the shocking crime. During the attack in the Yuen Long home in March last year, Fox's father was stabbed more than 100 times. His mother survived 4 stab wounds and a fractured skull. Overseas, the UN has accused the militant group Islamic State of committing war crimes during its sweep across Syria and Iraq. This came as the mother of an American journalist they kidnapped appealed directly to the leader for his release. ATV's Joyce Wu reports.
Islamic State militants holding American journalist Steven Sotloff have warned that his fate depends on what the U.S. does in Iraq. Sotloff was seen in a video which showed the execution of another U.S. newsman, James Foley. In a video broadcast by an Arab TV network, Sotloff's mother